Hi, it's Sunday, September 15th, 2024. I'm at the Wallace-Simpson Whirligig Park in Wilson, North Carolina. This is a place that the city set aside to honor a local Eastern North Carolina farmer who came back from World War II and began tinkering with things that were in his shop, old parts of tractors and lawnmowers and all kinds of different things, and he started making art with them. And he had one piece and then another, and he put them up on his farm near Wilson, and he just kept adding to them, and they got bigger and more elaborate. You can see a couple in the background here. Several years ago, they moved from the farm to a park in Wilson, and you can see there's a big group of them. Kind of shows how a small idea and a little bit of creativity can have big consequences. Tourism is now being driven in this city and in this region because of what he started putting together out of a couple leftover car parts and tractor parts on his farm. Somebody a number of years ago wrote a song about lollipops, and the candy makers couldn't keep up. After the Disney movie Bambi, deer hunting dropped significantly. When E.T. was filmed in 1982, the sale of Reese's Pieces candy went up 68%. A little idea, a little bit of creativity can have a big consequence. This summer's movie Twisters was a remake of one from a decade or so ago, and it increased the conversations and the contributions for climate change programs. Small ideas can have a big impact, how we behave and how we see the world. In 1989, people who went to the theater saw shoeless Joe Jackson walk out of an Iowa cornfield and ask the farmer there, Ray Kinsella, he said, "Is this heaven?" Ray Kinsella was played by Kevin Costner, and he runs this small Iowa farm that's sort of down on its luck, and his family has his wife Annie and his small daughter, and they're struggling to make ends meet. And one evening he's alone in this cornfield, and he hears a voice, "If you build it, he will come." And Ray hears the voice again and again, and he's unsure of what he's supposed to do. But he catches this vision. He's supposed to destroy part of his farm, his livelihood, and build a baseball field. And the dismay or the amusement of his neighbors, he builds this field of dreams. And from a biblical perspective, I hear Abraham's family and neighbors, we're going where? What are we doing? Or Moses, you're gonna fight who? The Pharaoh? Noah's neighbors, you're building what? Noah, what are you doing? And today we don't know much about the prophet Joel, except that this book, this writing with his name, was written about 400 BC, which would be 2,500 years ago or so. And he speaks a word of hope to people who desperately need it, which is never a bad thing. The first part of the book of Joel deals with a locust plague that is destroying farms, and it lasted for about a decade, and the people have no food and they're worried about the future. We don't have to wonder what that's like. We know what that's like. And then in the New Testament, some 700 years later or so, Peter quoted these same words on the day of Pentecost to the early church, to those who were anxious about what the future of Jesus' movement was going to look like. "Afterwards, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions." And at Pentecost, God's Spirit is poured out on all, and they see some stuff. Again, small ideas, small creativity, small investment yields big returns. When we're without hope, when we don't know what's ahead, it can be pretty hard to dream, and sometimes we need stimulus. We need somebody else to do a little bit of dreaming for us and challenge us and move us into that dream. Ray Kinsella, that character in Field of Dreams, has a dream, and he hears the words, if you build it, he'll come, and that's it. That's all. And he can't shake it. Have you ever had a dream or an idea that you just couldn't shake? You aren't sure what it means. You aren't sure if it's meant for you. You're absolutely not sure where it might take you or if you can do what it's challenging you to do. As people of faith, sometimes we need to be careful not to get disconnected from the dreams and visions God has for us. Ray Kinsella is this farmer in the middle of nowhere, struggling to make ends meet, but he has a dream that he can't shake. If you build it, he will come. And he mows down his crops and he builds a baseball field. He acts on his dream, and then he sort of looks around. Now what? And he has to wait. And he waits and he waits. Pretty soon, this character, Shoeless Joe Jackson, who'd been banned from the game in 1919, he was part of a bribery scandal for the World Series. Shoeless Joe Jackson comes out of the cornfield and he gets another chance to play this game that he loves. Is this heaven? He asks the farmer as he plays catch with a couple teammates that come out of the field. But the vision doesn't stop there. Like most dreams and visions, it gets bigger. And it's a whole lot bigger than Ray can imagine, this small idea with big results. And as more and more players come out, he gets this idea to go visit somebody. And he hears another voice, and he hears another message, and he goes to Boston. He travels from Iowa to Boston to meet an author named Terrence Mann, who is played by the late now James Earl Jones. And this author, who once dreamed about playing baseball for the Brooklyn Dodgers, is now a recluse and doesn't go out in society. But they go together to Fenway Park. Somehow Ray convinces him that he's had this vision and he needs to go, and they keep hearing a voice saying, go the distance, stay with it. And this leads them to Moonlight Graham, who played one game in the big leagues, and then Ray and Terrence make their way back to Iowa, and there's sort of this third-party validation, right? There's this honoring of the fact that, hey, I've tried something new. I had a vision, and I don't know what it means. I don't understand it, but I'm trying something. And this author, Terrence Mann, sort of validates that and gets swept up into it. Because there's one last thing that those characters need to have happen, and that is reconciliation with Ray's dad. Ray and his dad had become estranged. Arguments over baseball were really arguments about life, much bigger problems. And right towards the end of the film, Ray's father, as a young man, slowly walks out of the corn and onto his field of dreams. His dad, turns out, is the he in the vision. If you build it, he will come. And father and son are reconciled. And they play a game of catch. Is this heaven? There's nothing more beautiful than when heaven and earth meet. And oftentimes it's the result of a small idea that becomes bigger than we understand. A small idea with big results. When we have dreams and visions, and then have the courage to follow God's call into that dream, into that vision, the reign of God can become more clear, and heaven and earth get together. I think that's why Peter quoted this passage from Joel, this prophet from 2,000 years before. As people were wondering what was next, you will dream dreams, and you will have visions. The future's not yet here. Keep going. Stay the course. Go the distance. I love the advice from Bob Goff, who's an author and a speaker. He challenges us. Set aside time for personal reflection about who you are and what you think and why you think what you think, why you do what you do. Set aside time. Make time to plan the things that you still need to do if you want to accomplish these things that you haven't yet done. And that's a challenge whether you're 4 or 40 or 90. Make time to plan the things that you'll do next. In the movie Field of Dreams, Ray does that. He makes time. He clears the space needed to hear that voice. If you build it, he will come. And look at what happens. Look at the results of it. One small idea that turns into a big thing, this baseball field in the middle of the cornfield. Shoeless Joe Jackson finds forgiveness and mercy, a chance to make amends for a huge mistake. Terrence Mann, the author, is able to heal old wounds from a painful rejection in his history, able to live and love and experience joy again. And Ray and his father have a restored relationship. Sometimes when you believe the impossible, the incredible can come true. What will happen in your field of dreams? What's going to happen with your dream, your vision? How will the love of God be made known in your life and maybe in the lives of others too, through your dreams, your vision? Is this heaven? Will a small idea or an unwavering belief make a difference for you? Can heaven and earth be brought together by you? One little idea, one afternoon tinkering in the shop turned into all this. I wonder what you and God can cook up together.